Yeah, okay. Welcome everybody. My name is Roma Fahira from Catch22 and I'm moderating the workshop today, delivering vocational qualifications in an online setting. The session will be 45 minutes long and we'll be sticking to the time as closely as we can. If you have a question for Alex, our speaker, you can put your questions in the Q&A on the right hand side of your screen. Please ensure it's in the sessions tab and not the event tab, otherwise it will go to the whole event rather than just us. If you'd like to ask a question live on screen, then please ask to share your audio and video and I will bring you up on screen if we have time at the end. I am delighted to introduce our speaker, Alex Stoddart. I'm going to read out her little bio from the presentation slide. So Alex has worked for Catch22 since 2006, originally as a volunteer youth worker, and has worked her way through a variety of roles to where she is now. She is our Assistant Director of Catch22 Colleges. She's been very fortunate to undertake a variety of qualifications whilst employed at Catch22, from a youth work qualification, teaching qualification, and most recently a chartered management degree. She's passionate about making a difference to young people's lives and is proud to work for an organisation which does such important and powerful work. So, Alex, over to you.
Thanks, Roma. Thank you for joining my sessions. Without further ado, I will take you through our presentation today. We had a few technical issues this morning, so I apologise for my lack of finesse at using this platform, but we'll hopefully have less issues. Bear with me. I'm having problems again. Here we go. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see that on the screen now. Okay, so Catch22 College, delivering vocational qualifications in an online setting. So who are we and what do we do? So we are Catch22 College and we work with young people who, for whatever reason, haven't been able to access mainstream school or college provision. So our young people are aged 14 to 19 predominantly, and come from a variety of backgrounds and work with us to get a range of different vocational qualifications, English and maths, pastoral support, work experience, and ultimately the aim is to progress them. Many of our young people suffer with mental health issues, social emotional difficulties, learning difficulties that mean accessing a mainstream provision is just a little bit more challenging. Our class settings are much smaller and more nurturing, so we're able to work more holistically with our young people in a much more individually tailored way. We offer a range of vocational qualifications, which are listed there on the screen. So IT, customer service, construction, hair and beauty, catering and hospitality, land-based studies, and health and social care. And we are based all across the country. We're really spread geographically, which is excellent. We've got a great footprint nationally. 2 services in the North East, 1 in the Midlands, 2 in East Anglia, and 2 in the South East. So a few headlines from last year. We worked with 464 learners last year, and out of those, 25% of them had an education healthcare plan. So an education healthcare plan is some sort of statement of educational needs, meaning that that learner needs extra support because of their health, their emotional difficulties, learning difficulties, and so on. However, 65% of our young people actually considered themselves to have a disability. So there's quite a disparity there with those that have actually been diagnosed with some sort of underlying problem that affects their education. Over 60% of our cohort are in receipt of a bursary or a free school meal, so quite disadvantaged backgrounds many of our learners are coming from. And a positive there at the end, which is 74% of our learners progressed into a positive destination, so education, employment or training. So what did we do differently during the wake of the pandemic? Well, we was really proud to say that we responded really, really quickly and was able to be online, offering online learning by April. So lockdown started in March and we were having timetables up and online by April, which was no mean feat, but something that we did swiftly, and our learners responded really well to the online learning. We also went out and delivered loads and loads and loads of homework packs, lots of doorstep drops, socially distanced, of course, which helped our learners keep the momentum going, keep working, keep studying towards their qualifications, and just engaging in something in quite a strange and stressful time. We made sure that all our learners had Office 365 logins, which equipped them with being able to get onto Teams and being able to work with their teachers, complete work online, send work in and have it marked live time sometimes, which was really, really effective. We worked with quite a few different corporate sponsors during the pandemic to try to get kit and investment in our colleges, particularly with regards to IT, which we have a real lack of. I'll touch a bit more on digital poverty as we go on, but that was something that we were really quick to try to mobilise. And we, of course, maintained a provision face-to-face for our vulnerable students. So being frontline services, we made sure that we were open for those young people that needed us the most during the lockdowns. So some bits here on the screen with regards to digital poverty. So here's some of the definitions of what the government classify as vulnerable. So vulnerable learners, meaning learners that were able to access face-to-face school or college provision even during lockdown. So the top one there is at risk of need, so not in education, employment or training, which, to be honest, nearly all of our young people would fall into that category because that's with us in the place. So the second bullet point there is quite a lot of acronyms, but that's essentially all around social care involvement. So looked after children or children that are in foster care, children that are subject to child protection plans or child in need plans, essentially social care involved in the family. The families are vulnerable enough that we need to maintain our face-to-face provision for those children. Then EHCP or learning difficulty, disabilities, mental health issues, again, meaning these young people are vulnerable and need to be accessing their face-to-face learning with minimal disruption. And the last one there is with regards to no access to IT, which we found quite an interesting one and something we struggled to get our heads around, really, because it seemed strange to us that young people that had no other issues otherwise, other than that families couldn't afford to provide them with a laptop or a computer, were having to travel into our schools or colleges, sometimes by public transport, sometimes quite some distance during, you know, COVID unsafe times. And that was just something that we really felt that we needed to address. So what did we do? As I said earlier, we engaged with some corporate sponsors and we were really lucky to be gifted some devices by Raspberry Pi, which went out to our young people. And these were gifted, these weren't loaned. So that was a really powerful and important piece of work, because these young people received something that was an investment in them and their future, and recognising that, you know, if these young people can't afford a laptop now, that's unlikely to change in the next year or 2 years. And they are going to need this kit for applying for jobs or any further training or education that they go on to do. The Department for Education were a bit slow off the start. We received a login about a year after lockdown started, so during the second lockdown after Christmas, which allowed us to go on and apply for 53 devices, which was shared out across our 7 colleges. So once shared out, doesn't kind of make a huge dent in the need, but was obviously better than nothing and very welcomed. And then loan schemes at each individual site, so sites that didn't have a huge amount of young people accessing them for face-to-face delivery obviously had some laptops that would normally be used in the classroom, and we loaned those out at our own risk, obviously, you know, hoping that they come back in one piece or come back at all. But it was really important to us that our young people had kit to work with at home, you know, the same way you wouldn't expect somebody to come into a lesson and not have a pencil or a pen in the wake of the pandemic when everything was digital. If these young people didn't have that, it was a lifeline that was missing for them. So the last one there is our ongoing legacy work. So something that we're doing at the moment, we're working with the Social Business Trust to run a pilot in our Nottingham site, which is going to be supporting parents and young people around kind of debugging and demystifying issues and things that they might have with regards to being on the internet. So some of our parents really struggle to support our learners with their online learning just because they're not familiar with being online themselves. So this work is to kind of help our parents be able to help our students, and even with basic things like online shopping and things like that, which during the pandemic, you know, was really, really difficult for some families that couldn't get out. So I'm going to read through some quotes about what our learners say about us, because I had some feedback this morning that they was quite small on the screen. So the first quote here is from Michelina, who's 17, and she said that she's gotten better at Catch22 and got more help than she thought she would, feels less anxious, and the staff are always friendly. I'm thankful for all the help. The next one's from Stacey, and she says, I tried mainstream college, but I found it too overwhelming. I came to Catch22 on the recommendation of a friend and found that the smaller groups and supportive staff really helped me believe that I could achieve something. I achieved English and Maths qualifications last year and am now working towards GCSEs in these subjects. I'm also doing work experience at Faith Animal Rescue Centre, which I love, and I've decided that I would like to work with animals in the future. Catch22 has given me a real sense of direction and confidence in myself that I doubt I would have had if I hadn't attended, and I'm really pleased I came. The next one's from Tally, who's 16, and she's an electively home educated student. So that means that she would have been taken off role from her normal school provision and classified as electively home educated. And we're seeing a large number of young people coming through our provision that are classified as EHE, but coming to us for their education. I like that we're treated like adults. I would rather be here than mainstream school, as you get so much more support. And the last one is Lonnie, who's 17, who's learning with an education healthcare plan, which I touched on earlier. I like Catch22. I think the programme has a lot of great opportunities, and the teachers are very nice people who are patient and understand what others went through. So I'm now going to take you through a few video clips that will show you a bit more about our online delivery, a bit from our young people around how the pandemic's impacted their learning, and a bit from our staff as well about the challenges and triumphs of the last year. So the first video I'm going to show you is our online learning. And it's going to give you some examples of how we use Teams to facilitate learning with our young people, particularly how we were able to share our screens, allow young people to share their screens and take over the presentation, how we were doing pre-recorded sessions for them to engage with, and the use of the whiteboard in lessons. So I'll take you through that bit now.
Okay, so I know that one of the biggest anxieties about returning to college, there's two big anxieties that people have got about returning to college. One being that people are anxious about going to the testing sites, whereas hopefully the home testing kits will be available, so that won't be necessary. So that's one thing that we're able to help with. The second one is the anxieties around wearing masks. Now, I know they're uncomfortable. I know they look stupid. I know all this. We've been wearing them for the last year. I've been wearing masks. I know exactly how uncomfortable they are. But unfortunately, it's something that it's a precaution to try and keep people safe and to stop the spread of coronavirus any further. This is just a little bit about the masks. So consider this. College probably feels a bit different since September and will be changing even more when we return next week. But can you pinpoint what's changed? So obviously the class sizes and locations. For those that were with us last year, you would know that we had class sizes of up to 15 we were having in our classes. However, because of coronavirus, we've had to make the classes a lot smaller to keep the social distancing measures. And you're only obviously attending half days instead of full days so that we can have the same number of students in, but half in the morning and half in the afternoon, and then backing that up with the online lessons with Wendy. As you know, for those that were with us before, last year we never had online lessons or any home learning of any kind because we didn't need to. We had learners in for 2 whole days in the week, and we were able to cover everything we needed to in those 2 whole days. Obviously, with the coronavirus and not being able to fit that many students in, we've had to split it, so that time has needed to be made up with online lessons and home learning. So the class sizes have obviously changed a lot since last year. those of you who weren't with us last year, obviously this is normal to you, small classes and social distancing.
That's me too. I didn't know about last year.
Yeah. Whereas obviously Abby will remember that we used to have, like, the tables are all, I had completely different tables in my classroom last year. I had like groups of like 6 or 8 students. You could all, they're all kind of in a like a block, if you like, so they could all talk to each other and communicate with each other and look at each other. Whereas obviously now you're expected to sit at a desk on your own and face forward.
Okay, so you know, guys, that it is recorded. You shouldn't have your camera on. You should not swear. You should be respectful, and you should take turns. Yeah, and if not, we can remove you from the lesson. So let's do the math part for it first. Do we remember anything about this mean, median, mode, and range?
I only know the median one is the one in the middle, ain't it?
Yeah, that's
I
good.
don't know what the other ones are. I forgot.
You forgot. That's not a problem. That's why we're gonna look into it again, sort of revise. For some of you, it will be simple revision, but for some of you, it will be quite new information.
Hi, Danny.
Hi.
What's your question?
So, you know, you said that foam is embedded in their skin.
Yeah.
It's actually not. So you see that little wrist thing?
Oh, I see. That's what it is.
It's like,
Yeah, I was thinking, how would people do that? So that's what it is.
It's like a monitor that sends the thing onto your phone.
That is amazing.
Of your phone onto your arm.
Yeah.
And it turns on every single time you flip your wrist around.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, it does look brilliant, because I was looking at it thinking there's no way that somebody would have that tattooed on their arm. So it comes on. So are you actually able to buy that now?
Yeah, but I'd assume it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I'm going to make chili con carne following this recipe. We've got mincemeat, but we've got a bit of beef in it as well, diced beef. We've got chopped tomatoes, we've got kidney beans, we've got chili powder, cumin, peppers, onions, the stock, tomato puree. We've got diced chili also, a jar, and being lazy, we've got chopped garlic already done also. The rice, to cook rice is very simple. All you need to do is boil a pan of water, and then once it's boiled, add a bit of sugar, salt, and add your rice. And the measurement is 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. We're just going to plate it up now. Make it all look pretty. Also with chilli, you can serve this with nachos or sour cream or salsa dip.
That was just a bit of a snippet of the sorts of sessions that we've been delivering during the pandemic, and I'm now going to show you guys a video of one of our young people talking from our Thetford College site, who's going to give a bit of an insight in their experience of online learning and what changed for them during their education.
Hi Nate, can you tell us what you study at Catch22 in Thetford?
Yeah, we study enrichment. We have English, Maths and IT as well, which is really fun.
Brilliant. So what did Catch22 do differently to support you during the pandemic?
We had welfare checks every Monday to see how we were doing, if we were alright with the work, and if we needed any help that they could help us with.
Yeah, fantastic. And how did you find remote learning? What did you like? What did you dislike?
I disliked all the pressure we had because having to get it done in time.
Yeah.
But it was also really cool because we still get to see each other during calls and we still help.
Yeah. And Did you like all like the activities during the course?
Yeah, they were really fun. We did quizzes, games, teamwork. We just carry on like we would at college.
Fantastic, okay. And what has the pandemic taught you about your education and how you like to learn?
It taught me that it's easier in college because we'd get more help and it's like easier for everybody, people would have to wait. And we'd also ask each other for help as well.
Yeah, great. Would you like to see anything done differently if there was another lockdown?
I don't think Catch22 could do anything differently. They did excellent the first time.
Great stuff. Okay. Well, thanks, Nate. Thanks for sharing your thoughts today. Excellent.
That's Nate from our Thetford site, just giving a bit of information about how they found education during the pandemic. And lastly, I'm just going to share with you a video of our Maidstone staff team, some of them just giving their thoughts and opinions about how they work differently during the pandemic and how they think they'll work differently moving forward. So I'll share that one now.
From the first lockdown, we realised that there was a bit of a gap, wasn't there? Some learners didn't have the ICT or didn't have mobile data on their phones and weren't able to access the lessons that we did in the first lockdown. So it was really important to us from September when they returned that the online delivery was part of their timetable. So it just became the norm for them. And it also allowed us to plug the gaps of learners that didn't have that. And we were able to supply them with the ICT and they were able to get used to that, weren't they?
Yes.
So what was the attendance like on your online delivery?
At first it was, say, 50%. But then as they got used to actually attending, the attendance went up quite well. And we had a few students who wouldn't attend the centre, but they'd actually attend the online learning lessons. So that was really good. And then when we went into the second lockdown, the attendance was fantastic and they produced a lot of work and the feedback was that they enjoyed it because they hadn't got anything else to do. So they looked forward to it. So they really looked forward to it. And
it wasn't daunting, was it, anymore? Because they'd already done it.
By the second time, everybody was actually used to it because a lot of them were afraid to be on camera. I mean, not on camera, but talking off camera. But by the second time, everybody was really confident with it and it just became a norm. So, yeah, they really enjoyed it.
Fantastic, thank you. So what kind of positive responses did we get from learners, Susan, about our online delivery?
There was quite a few very positive responses from students. One of the EHCP student, for example, said that he really enjoyed all the sessions. He was present at all the sessions and he liked it because he had a lot more one-to-one time than he can have at the center. And it was very visible on his progress as well that he achieved a lot more through the online lesson than what sometimes we can achieve with him in the center. And another positive response was from another student who said that she prefers the online sessions instead coming into the center. She's aware that she's losing the social side of it, but she finds it a lot easier as she has got a very young child and she could easily work those online lessons around the childcare, and it's a lot harder for her to cover the childcare when she has to come into the center. And we also been chatting to the students about their mental health and done the tea and talk sessions, which was on a Tuesday afternoon, and they could join just to have a chat with us about their general feelings or anxieties or any problems that they have, and that was very successful. Students really enjoyed that and they appreciated it. And it's also interesting that since they become so confident, as Wendy said, with the teams, they still use the teams to get in touch with us. So if they have a problem, if they have a question, if they have an inquiry, they rather use the team than to call us or to message us, which I think it is brilliant.
it's really good that learners were given an Office 365 account, not just, to access Teams, but all the other programs, which we know they are using within their everyday lives, not just for college, but, perhaps for job applications, writing other documents that they need to do outside of college. And so that's been a real, bonus for them, hasn't it?
Yes. We actually have a learner who managed to secure a job through the fact that he had access to the Office 365.
Yeah, and most of them are doing it on their phones, aren't they? But that they're still able to access Word and things like that on their phones, which is brilliant. Okay, fab. So I know that we had some learners who have had their best attendance whilst we were doing a full online programme. Perhaps you'd like to share some of those with us, Sam.
Yeah, so personally myself, I had a learner who had to have quite a serious operation. So he was able to, during his pre-op isolation and post-op recovery, he was able to access the online learning, which obviously meant he didn't lose out on his hours, but he was still able to recover and keep himself safe. So that was really beneficial to him. We also have a couple of other learners who struggle with the anxiety of coming into the centre. However, the online lessons, they've attended, 100% of them mostly, because they haven't got that added anxiety or that pressure about coming into college. So the online lessons for them has been really beneficial. So we had, for example, a couple of learners who attended every online session during lockdown, however, are now struggling to reintegrate back into college. So when we're moving forward, looking at their programme for next year, it's something that we need to take into account. That although it's important that we do get them into the centre, the online delivery seems to be working better for them as a whole, rather than actually stressing them out and raising those anxieties about coming into college. So for some learners, it's been really good. And
those learners' anxieties aren't about COVID, are they? They were there before COVID.
Yeah. So it's the anxiety about stepping into a centre. So although it's a small centre, it's still, daunting for some learners to walk into somewhere that's school environment, if you like, college environment, having had bad experiences before. So the online stuff, they're in their own surroundings, they're comfortable, and they learn a lot better and they produce a lot better work because they haven't got the stress and the anxiety to contend with at the time.
Yeah, brilliant. So just thinking about through the two lockdowns, there's been a lot of developments in the technology, online technology. Can you talk us through that a little bit, Tony, and how that's helped you in your delivery of construction?
Yes, it's a massive learning curve, I think, for a lot of us, especially me. It started off very sort of shaky to begin with in the first lockdown, but the improvements that have been made throughout the past year have been unbelievable. We can now set assignments, send the work out via email, via Teams. The chat line I find quite helpful sometimes. And works can be returned. We can mark it and then get in contact with the students yet again through Teams, by chat, email. There's literally no excuse for anything not to be returned on time.
Which the students love, of course.
Of course they do.
Fabulous. And different things that we were able to do in Teams that we couldn't do at the beginning.
Oh yeah, we have the breakout rooms now, don't we, that we can go into and take one student or two into a breakout room and discuss any problems we might have with them.
So that's worked really well for us, being able to set up a classroom that all the learners in that session can join, but then using TAs to take out certain learners into a breakout room that might need a little bit more one-to-one or might need to do a separate topic that they've missed. So that's been really, really beneficial, hasn't it, as teachers?
So
what are we excited about moving forward, in what lays ahead for our online digital delivery? What are we looking forward to for the rest of this year and next September?
So I've already started to book up people that we would normally get into the centre to do workshops with our learners, obviously we're limited as to what's in the area, whereas now, because we've got access to Teams, we can invite people from anywhere to deliver workshops to our learners via the Teams platform. So it opens up a lot more variety and a lot more options for our learners for future workshops and, you know, information that they can get from other businesses that they might be interested in working with in the future, or anything like that that can help the learners further with their progression.
Anything else we're looking forward to for September? I think maybe just picking up on what you said, Sam, you know, we pride ourselves on putting together a programme of delivery which is really specific to that individual. And if we can use this new tech to get more learners in that perhaps would have been anxious about coming in the past, you know, that can only be a good thing.
So that's the end of the videos and the end of my presentation. So I'll hand back to Roma, who will hopefully talk us through our poll if we've had some responses.
We have, Alex. Everyone that's voted have all voted no. The governments have not done enough to bridge the digital divide, which came up in your presentation, really. Although we did have and were gifted machines, it didn't really touch the surface, did it?
No, absolutely. And I think the sort of complicated processes that we sort of have to follow to access kit causing more delays sometimes is another challenge. But yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't think enough's been done, and it's definitely something that's on Catch22's radar. And I know something that our partnership teams are working hard on trying to address. So watch this space.
We don't have any questions, so thank you very much, Alex, for that presentation. It's given us a lot to go away and have a think about, and thanks to everyone for joining us. Euromet is closing now for the day. You've still got time to go to the expo if you would like to, but if not, we will see you again on the main stage at 9:30 UK time tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thanks, bye.